Hey, welcome back to the Temple of the Holy Beard. I'm Pastor Dave. Thanks for tuning in. It's great to have you here with us again today. This is your news report for Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. A couple tidbits that I think you should be aware of and might not have heard about anywhere else. So first, we'll start off in the U.S. Immigration front, a massive caravan, mostly of Central Americans and Venezuelans, departed southern Mexico on Tuesday en route to the U.S. southern border. Total size of this group is not yet known, but could be 8,500 or more, with others likely to join along the way. While immigration into the U.S. has been well beyond historically high levels over the past few years, it's expanding to get a lot worse. Some of the illegals have crossed to find jobs and become part of American society, while many others are homeless, working for drug cartels, or getting into prostitution, as reported by New York City Mayor Eric Adams recently, who blamed the rise in prostitution on the influx of female Venezuelan migrants who have been unable to find work. Though this is more likely that they are doing it in order to pay back the cartels for helping them to get here. Note, I've known a lot of immigrants and migrant families, and fully support those. I grew up around a lot of migrant families, and majority of them are generally good people. A lot end up being, a lot that do fall into crime end up doing it out of necessity because they're unable to find work or anything else. Others, as like any other population, a percentage of people are just not good people, and if given the opportunity to, you know, find illegal work, they will do so. And so you can't blame the entire population because of a few bad apples. However, in times like this where people are crossing the border in massive numbers and there just aren't that many jobs available waiting for them when they get here, they follow this dream hoping for a better life, the American dream, and they're not able to find it when they get here. So what are they to do? They can be homeless and possibly starve, or take what income they can get, however they can get it, and do what they need to do to survive. Um, a lot of the people that are doing illegal activities aren't necessarily hurting other people. Say, for example, the prostitutes. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not doing it of their own will, and that's a problem. Some of them are doing it out of necessity because they don't feel like they have any other options. So, it is what it is. Unfortunately, we just don't have the resources to help this many people, and they're coming across faster than society can ingest. So it's going to take a little bit of time to work it out and see how it goes. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this, and these large numbers are a concern, and I'll get into a little bit more of it later. But especially when you consider other world events. Like I said, we don't have the resources to help the people, and we don't have the resources necessarily to stop any bad that might be coming in as well. But moving on the inflation front, earlier today, the Federal Reserve announced that it would not be changing the interest rates. This is good news and bad news. Good news is the cost of things won't be going up because of interest rates going up right now. But the pros and cons depend on your point of view. You know, um, interest rates not going down also means that prices wouldn't be going down because of that. But one plus to the interest rates going up is it could help to stabilize the housing market and other things to lower the cost of some things that are just unaffordable to the majority of people right now. Interest rates right now are basically at the levels that they were at the early 2000s. So a lot of younger people are looking at it as historically high. This is ridiculously high. We can't afford that. Whereas older people are looking at it saying that's still lower than it was when I bought my first house. So depending on your point of view and what you're used to seeing, you may consider this high, you may not. Depending on how you look at it, it had been at historically low rates for a very long time. So they might just be stabilizing. But it's another thing we'll keep an eye on because, of course, interest rates do impact certain things like, you know, the bond market and your, you know, any savings accounts interest that you get, and of course it also impacts the interest rates you would get on buying a new house or a new car or anything like that. So, I mean, of course, this is just one more reason why if you've got debt, you should push to get out of it, you know, as quickly as you can afford. Work on saving money to buy the things that you want rather than taking out a loan whenever you can afford it. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you just can't. If your car is dying and you absolutely need a new one, you might have to take out a new loan. But also think about, you know, while you're paying off your debt, put a little bit into savings to start building up so that if you do have a major problem, you don't have to take out a loan to get it. That's where these interest rates come in, because right now the interest rates, you're not really seeing it except for, you know, car loans and house loans, but it's going to hit more stuff in the future. So, you know, work on getting out of debt, you know, save up money, and if you don't have the money to buy it, you know, maybe reconsider buying it. Moving on, another area of concern you may or may not be aware is the U.S. military has had recruiting shortages for quite a while now. Honestly, they've had shortages for many years. You know, even pre-September 11th, they had recruiting shortages. Now, the unfortunate attacks on September 11th did encourage a lot of people to join the military, which helped out the numbers for a number of years. But as of late, they have been at historically low recruiting numbers, which is not good, especially when you consider current world events. That said, the Army, quote, suddenly and chaotically told hundreds of soldiers they have to be recruiters immediately. The Army scrambled to boost its recruiting force by 800 recruiters by the end of the year. That's 1 month to add 800 recruiters. They're in a hurry. Granted, the numbers are low. They've been low for a long time, and this is a problem, especially with, like I said, when you consider world events that I'm going to be getting into and other future reports. You know, this is something they should have done a while ago. They shouldn't be doing this in a hurry, but they are. So I'm going to read this article to you a little bit. The orders came after a breakdown in how the Army tracks how many recruiters it has coming through the pipeline, along with retention of existing ones. According to Lieutenant General Douglas Stitt, the Army's top personnel officer, sudden depletion of recruiters caught Army's planners flat-footed, with officials unable to provide a clear explanation as to what went wrong. Basically, what this article is saying is that a bunch of recruiters got out of the military at once or over a period of time, and they lost track of the numbers, didn't realize they were short on recruiters. Yeah, that could be so, but I think also they're trying to staff up because their general number of new personnel, new soldiers coming in has been low for a number of years. And I'll get into those numbers in another report, but you know, with a shortage of recruiters and the recruiters not being able to recruit as many as they used to, it's concerning. Now, in some cases, soldiers were only given a few days to report. One report that I read was 4 days. You know, this report says 6 days. They've got children, they've got a family that they have to move across the country, sometimes across the world, and they've got a few days to pack their stuff and report in. That's where the sudden and chaotic comment comes from. Generally, orders will come out and a soldier will know they're going to be transitioning months in advance. They'll know that where they're going at least a month, you know, oftentimes longer than that in advance. So days is very short notice. Imagine having to pick up your family and move without a choice in 4 days, 6 days, a week. That's not much time. So, you know, in some cases they're trying to give bonuses for soldiers who volunteer to go to recruiting school. Others are, I don't know, they're given bonuses. Could be up to $5,000, which is pretty nice. You know, But okay, so this is the active duty part of the Army came up 10,000 recruits short of its goal of 65,000 for the fiscal year 2023. The Army Reserve is an even more dire situation, getting only 9,319 new soldiers when its goal was 14,000. So they got about 3,000, I'm sorry, 3/4 of the soldiers for the Army Reserves compared to what they're supposed to be. Now, the Army National Guard has done a lot better, only being about 1,000 soldiers short, which is good. Now, this article comes from military.com, so I consider it a pretty reputable resource for this kind of information. So moving on. Another article talks about the new Speaker of the House. You weren't aware. Congress has elected a new Speaker of the House, Johnson. And so he is working to Mike Johnson from Louisiana, trying to find a way to fund the military aid for Israel, and irritating some people along the way. So I'll read this article to you. House Speaker Mike Johnson sent Democrats into an uproar with his first major legislative proposal as leader of the House. On Monday, Johnson unveiled a proposal to send Israel $14.3 billion in military assistance funding, consistent with President Joe Biden's request, to pay for the military assistance. Johnson proposed rescinding an equal amount of funds appropriated to the Internal Revenue Service through the Inflation Reduction Act, which Biden signed into law last year. The law, which did not actually lower inflation, aggressively expands the IRS with $80 billion in funding over the next 10 years. The proposal upsets Democrats for two reasons. First, they want to intertwine money for Israel with money for Ukraine, which a lot of senators don't agree with. A lot of senators, congressmen believe that the money should be separate. You should know exactly where your money's going. Second, they don't want to lock back. They don't want to walk back. They don't want to walk back money appropriated through the Inflation Reduction Act. And Rep. Demi Wasserman Schultz from Florida rallied against Johnson for proposing unprecedented offsets, accusing him of playing political games. She accused Johnson of setting a dangerous precedent by offsetting spending. Accused Johnson of politicizing Israel with a poison pill. So basically, she's saying that, we want to support Israel, but we don't want to take money away from this IRS funding. So she's calling them names. So Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, meanwhile, said he is deeply troubled by the partisan and woefully inadequate package with no aid for Ukraine, no humanitarian assistance for Gaza, no funding for the Indo-Pacific. So he's getting irritated because this bill is to fund one thing and not everything else. And he's not even upset about the IRS. The question is, if these Democrats want to support Israel with more funding as quickly as possible, isn't this a way to do it? There's got a bill right there that's providing funding, using money that was allocated for something else but hasn't even been touched and isn't going to be touched anywhere soon. But they're fighting for it just because they just want, I don't know, whatever. After all, rescinding aid appropriated for the IRS is not playing political games. For Johnson, it's about funding the military aid, not passing the bill to future generations. If the IRS is not currently using those funds, why can't Congress use them for something nearly every lawmaker supports? Moreover, there is a significant problem with sending Ukraine tens of billions more in taxpayer money, such as government corruption in Ukraine. A top Ukrainian presidential advisor recently told Time magazine that, quote, people are stealing like there's no tomorrow, unquote. So a top Ukrainian presidential advisor is kind of suggesting not to send money because people are just stealing it. So why should we send billions of dollars to a place where the people that are supposed to be spending it to help their people are just sticking it in their pockets? And that's what separating these bills is all about. You know, all for helping people who need it, but if it's just being stolen, should we really keep sending it over there? Anyway, at the end of the day, it's unlikely that Johnson's proposal will become law, but he's setting a fiscally conservative precedence, making good on his promises. So this story here is from Blaze Magazine, written by Chris Enlow. All right, so this one's getting a little bit long, so I'm going to end it here. I've got a few more articles coming out that I'll either roll out later on today or tomorrow, so look forward to those. I hope you've enjoyed this this news. If there's any particular topics or regions that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments. I want to try to give you the news that that you want to have, but I also want to try to make sure that I'm giving you news that you should know that you might not be hearing other places. So again, you know, let me know what you think in the comments. I look forward to it, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Pastor Dave from Temple of the Holy Beard. Until next time, stay safe, stay sane, keep learning.